Yeah! We are back like we never left. Yeah. Run it back, Nation. What is good? Run it back, Nation. What is good? Welcome to another edition of Lunchtime Live with DJ Eastwood on Run It Back Philly. Thank you for being here. 125 sickos in the stream. I need all the likes, man. I need y'all to hit the like button one time for me. That would be greatly appreciated. 216 in the stream before we even got started. Hit the like button for me. Give me 200 likes. That would be greatly appreciated. Here's what we're going to do, man. A couple of opinions on a couple of things that I have. And then we're going to listen to Daryl Morey on yet another podcast. This time he was on the John Clark podcast on NBC. And he said a couple of things that are interesting about the draft pick, what they plan to do with the draft pick. And then he said something about the 76ers' health and what they expect day one of next season, which better freaking happen or this fan base is going to disappear forever. So we're going to do all that, okay? Before we get into that, this is brought to you by Mando full body deodorant, which offers you a 72-hour odor control. It's springtime. We're getting closer to summer. You need 72-hour protection, man. I'm getting back into outdoor activities, pick up basketball, and you might have saw me throw down a slam dunk on a trampoline yesterday on my Instagram page. If you didn't see that, go see that. But anyway, I was jumping around on a trampoline, man. And I worked up a sweat in like 5 minutes because that's trampolines are a lot of work when you're not a 7-year-old kid. But yeah, Mando starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, and free shipping as a special offer for listeners of this show. Get $5 off your starter pack with our exclusive code SICKOS, SICKOS. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack. Use code SICKOS at shopmando.com. Support our show. Tell them we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando. Autofocus. Maybe not. Yeah, thank you to Mando for sponsoring the channel. Shout out to everybody in here. What are y'all talking about in the chat? We got a negative Nancy right off the bat. I will bet Joel Embiid will miss the first game of the season. Guaranteed. A 70% Embiid is all we need as long as he takes a step back and lets Maxey be the first option. We did see a little bit of that last season. Actually, probably only one single time we saw that last season, and that was the game where the 76ers beat the Boston Celtics on Christmas Day. I witnessed Joel Embiid being more of an option than a nucleus on the team, and Tyrese Maxey did his thing. And Caleb Martin had like 57 points because he's only good against the Boston Celtics, but we did witness that a little bit. Embiid has a chronic knee problem. The cartilage in his knee isn't going to magically grow back. This is going to be a problem for the rest of his career. We'll see, man. You know, the guy, Daryl Morey, is making promises, and he's gonna have to back him up. He's gonna have to back him up. Guys, please know everyone's saying we are competitive with Embiid. We won't win a chip with this junk. I ask you in response to that statement, what is your solution. Because you either win with Embiid is signed until 2029. You either win with Joel Embiid, which even if the chances of that happening are low, rebuild. Your solution is to rebuild. Let me say it again. Joel Embiid is signed until 2029. If you're going to rebuild, you have to rebuild with Joel Embiid on the roster. You have to actively, at least this upcoming season, you have to see if Joel Embiid and Paul George can play more than 20 games each. Last season, it didn't happen. This season, it basically has to happen. If it doesn't happen this season, then maybe you try to trade them. But if it doesn't happen this season, that's 2 years in a row this guy can't play 20 games. Does he have any trade value? What I'm saying is there is no way to get rid of these guys. So you have to draft a player with the number 3 pick. You have to develop and rebuild around Tyrese Maxey, Jared McCain, Quentin Grimes, a new draft pick, etc., while having these guys on the roster. There's just no real other option. And then you either win with these guys on the roster or you don't win and you rebuild until these contracts are up. I don't see any other possibility. Brian Pumper, what's up, man? I don't have big expectations with our old and decrepit. I just want to see Maxey, J-Mac, and Ace hoop. Yeah, I don't think we're going into this with any, I don't think we go into next season with any expectations. I don't think you can do that. We went into this season with expectations, and Joel Embiid was ramping up for 2 months. I think everybody's over expecting anything. You can't. But there is no solution for getting off of these contracts. Steph, what's up, man? Speaking of solutions and getting off of contracts, I'm going to talk about Jaylen Brown a little bit for the Boston Celtics fans. Because the Boston Celtics are screwed. And no, I don't like to see a Jason Tatum injury, but I do enjoy seeing the Boston Celtics downfall. Alex Kiefer, East is wide open, but this team isn't going to walk through everyone simply because the conference is light. We still suck. Oh, yeah, of course, bro. Who said the Sixers are walking through anybody? Who the hell said that? You have to play the young guys that keep Embiid and Paul George until the contract dies. Exactly. That's what I think, too. Let them mentor the players and take a step back. The only way, I don't know if we want them mentoring the players. Hey, Joel Embiid diet tips. Eat whatever you want. Drink Shirley Temples all day. Eat 10 chicken sandwiches on the flight to the game. Come in every season out of shape. And I'm good on mentoring anybody. Paul George mentor somebody. I'm good on that too. That might be the weakest minded player I've seen since Ben Simmons. But nah, what else we got? So we're back to the Tobias Harris situation. Yes, 100% we are. So find a new team. Well, if you're a relatively new Sixers fan, I would suggest yes, that you find a new team. Let me tell you something. I've been watching the 76ers since 1995. This is the life we chose. We do not win. We do not dominate. We do not build powerhouse teams. This is what we do. We kind of get good sometimes. We crumble. We spend a whole offseason talking about how bad it was and what we need to do next year. We rinse and repeat. This is the life of a Sixers fan, and there's nothing we can do about it. Mr. Cheese, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that. I'm not sure if you meant to put a comment on there or not. Let me know what you wanted to say. You don't choose the Sixers. The Sixers choose you. Absolutely. Shane Butler, what's up, man? Let's go Sixers. Going to be healthy. Going to win championship in 25-26. Yeah. And shout out to new subscribers in the stream. All right, let's get into the business, man. Let's get into the business. First of all, the Boston Celtics won last night. All right, we're going to talk a little bit of Celtics-Knicks. We're going to talk a little bit of, a potential possible trade scenario way before the offseason. We're going to then, we have a Paul George quote, because what would this show be without a Paul George quote to talk about? And then we're going to listen live to the Daryl Morey interview on John Clark's podcast. Thank y'all for hanging out. So the Celtics won last night. We all predicted that victory. The Knicks were up 3-1. Jason Tatum tore his Achilles. Everybody, the Celtics are going to rally cry and win a game before the Knicks inevitably put them away. It was kind of predictable. Also, the people are telling me that the officials handled this victory for the Boston Celtics. And I predicted when the Knicks were up 2-0 that the officials were going to handle a game. And it didn't go as one-sided as I thought it was going to go last night. And I didn't watch this game live, but just the narrative this morning on the internet is that the officials handled this game for the Boston Celtics. And I don't like to say the NBA's rigged, but I do say regularly that it's pretty obvious when certain games are manipulated a little bit to drag out a series. And it looks like that's what happened last night. First of all, Jalen Brunson was called for 5 fouls in the third quarter. Yes, they called 5 fouls on Jalen Brunson in the third quarter. Now, if you wanted to, I'm just saying, if you wanted to take out the only player that could possibly, kill you in the fourth quarter, if you wanted the Celtics to win, what would you have to do? You would have to take out Jalen Brunson. Did I say Jaylen Brown earlier when I said 5 fouls? They called 5 fouls on Jalen Brunson. Now, if you wanted the Celtics to win the game, what's the best way to do that? Get Jalen Brunson in foul trouble, right? And it was tied at halftime. And if this game goes into the fourth quarter and Jalen Brunson is not in foul trouble, if game 1, 2, and 4 tell you anything, Jalen Brunson's going to put you away in the fourth quarter. They called 5 fouls on Jalen Brunson in the third quarter. Now, how is it possible that is a random thing that happened, given all of the context? Look at the total free throw attempts in the first half of this game. And Steph, if you're still here, let me know in the chat, do you actually think the Celtics are winning this series? Because this game on paper looks fake. It looks like a fake game that happened on paper. Here's the first half free throws for each team, okay? And I don't like to base everything just off of free throw attempts, but when it's this drastic, I will. The New York Knicks had 15 free throw attempts in the first half. The Boston Celtics had 8 free throw attempts in the first half, okay? Now let's go directly to the third quarter after this game was tied at halftime. The New York Knicks had what am I looking at? Free throw attempts, not 20. The New York Knicks had 8 free throw attempts in the third quarter. The Boston Celtics had 18. Hold on a second. You're telling me the Boston Celtics had 8 free throw attempts in the entire first half. The game was tied. They called 5 personal fouls on Jalen Brunson in one quarter. And the Boston Celtics went from 8 free throw attempts in the entire first half to 18 in the third quarter alone. That is rich. Also this. I've been saying for a couple of years now that Derek White is the Boston Celtics' best player. He's their best on-ball defender. And I know we try to make Jason Tatum this superstar. I know the Boston Celtics overpaid Jaylen Brown like he's some kind of superstar. Super max contract for a high-level role player. But you go into Game 6 and you say, or you go into Game 5 and you say, okay, Jason Tatum tore his Achilles. Who's going to lead the team in scoring? Should be Jaylen Brown, right? Like the optics tell you it should be Jaylen Brown. He should lead the team in scoring with Jason Tatum out. Derek White, ladies and gentlemen, delivers the victory for the Boston Celtics. I should have bet on this, man. I should have bet on this. I should have bet on Derek White 35 plus points, dude. I mean, this was basically set in stone. Derek White 34. Well, if I would have bet 35 plus and he scored 34, I would have been pretty pissed off. But anyway, Derek White delivers the Celtics a victory because Derek White is the Boston Celtics' best player. And look, dude, if Derek White continues to do that, they might win the series. But I don't think the Boston Celtics get 18 free throws in the third quarter next game. And I don't think Jalen Brunson has 5 fouls called on him in the third quarter next game. So, you know, good job, NBA. Jason Tatum tears his Achilles. The Boston Celtics get a victory in his honor. The script was completed in last night's game, but the New York Knicks are going to win that series. Yeah, that's all I wanted to say. So Jason Tatum's dad, this is such an odd report for me. Jason Tatum's dad expects him to be out 8 or 9 months with a torn Achilles. Okay, since when do we get medical updates from somebody's dad? I don't even understand what is ESPN calling Jason Tatum's dad instead of like the team doctors. I don't really understand what's going on there, but 8 or 9 months for an Achilles tear is absolutely unrealistic. That's absolutely unrealistic. Jason Tatum's only 27 years old. He's not rushing back from an Achilles tear. He's not coming back and playing full court NBA basketball in 8 to 9 months. That doesn't even make sense, and I don't really understand why we're getting medical reports from Jason Tatum's dad. But, you know, the whole thing is starting the conversation with the Boston Celtics because the team is being sold, right? They went way over the salary cap with signing all of those players. What they were doing was commendable. I'm not saying they shouldn't have done it. They paid everybody because they said, we dominated the playoffs and won a championship. If we go over the salary cap to win 2 in a row, that's commendable. That's, you know, let's do that. And then we're selling the team and so on. But it didn't happen. You know, Jason Tatum gets the injury. They were already down 3-1. They shot themselves out of the series. They don't win the second ring in a row. They were probably going to make major roster changes this offseason anyway. Now with this Jason Tatum injury, they're not going to be a title contender next season. So what do? The narrative or the, you know, main thing I think NBA fans are talking about is the Boston Celtics trading Jaylen Brown. And I ask you straight up, 350 people in the stream, I ask you, let me know in the chat, Sixers fans specifically, would you make a trade for Jaylen Brown? Yes or no? My take on it is it's complicated. It's complicated. I love what Jaylen Brown brings to a basketball team. Don't get me wrong. But when they paid him $300 million, I was just like, Jaylen Brown's just not a $300 million player. He's not. I just don't see it. You don't think about Jaylen Brown the same way you think about Anthony Edwards, right? I don't look at Jaylen Brown as a superstar. I look at Jaylen Brown as a very athletic, high-level role player, a number 2 or a number 3 on a dominant team as he was last season. Even though he won Finals MVP, I just don't see it. I think he's close. But you don't give Jaylen Brown the ball in the fourth quarter to close out a playoff. Well, I guess they did in the finals. That's why he won Finals MVP. I just don't see Jaylen. Am I crazy? I guess it's just my perception. You just don't give Jaylen Brown the ball and say, "Oh, it's the fourth quarter. Jaylen Brown's about to cook." Like, I just don't get that feeling from Jaylen Brown. But with all of that aside, I would love. I mean, if you're telling me I get Maxey, McCain, Jaylen Brown, and we get to move forward. I mean, that's, if it's tough, man. Like, I don't want to trade the number 3 pick in the draft, and I don't think this happens. Again, we're talking hypotheticals, and it's only May, bro. We're about to be tough. We're gonna do some hypotheticals for May, June, July, August, September. Strap in. We got 5 months of hypotheticals on the way. But if my future outlook is Joel Embiid might be close to done playing, Paul George I don't even want to see for a second season. Maxey's 24, Jared McCain's 21, Quentin Grimes is 24. If you would trade the 3rd pick for Jaylen Brown, I guess I'm just saying it wouldn't be that crazy. But they would have to take Paul George also for the salaries to be close, right? And then are you back in the same situation kind of? Because, you'd be back to a guy making $50-60 million a year who sometimes is going to put up 12 points in a loss, and Sixers fans will be on him all the time. And then probably the last couple of years of Jaylen Brown's 5-year Supermax contract, you're going to be trying to trade him again, knowing the way that things go for the Sixers. Also, he's 28, right? He's in his prime right now. He's super athletic. I think he's going to be super athletic for a couple more years. But when do we start to see players slow down? 31, 32, 33. And Jaylen Brown's not the most highly skilled player in the world. He's just super athletic and knows how to use his size and strength to get to the rim, get mismatches in the paint, finish through contact, and he has a damn good 3-point shot also. But when his athleticism begins to slow down in his early 30s, then you might be talking about a really, really bad contract for the last 2 years. And you don't make that trade if you're the Sixers unless you think you are a Jaylen Brown away from winning a championship. And are the Sixers a Jaylen Brown away from winning a championship? Hell no, the answer to that is. They're just not. We have to accept that it's almost rebuild time, and we have to draft Ace Bailey at the number 3 spot and move forward. That's what the 76ers need to do. I think our championship window is closed, although Daryl Morey thinks otherwise. And so that is my opinion on the would you trade for Jaylen Brown. What do you guys got in the chat, man? No. People are saying no. No picks and Paul George and Embiid for Brown and a pick? Why would the Boston Celtics give up a pick for Paul George and Joel Embiid and they're giving away Jaylen Brown? Why would they give up a pick also? What Paul George and Joel Embiid right now have negative value. I would make that trade in a heartbeat. I wouldn't trade the 3rd pick for Brown. I'd for sure trade Paul George or Maxey for him. So if you're not trading the 3rd pick, then you want to draft a player that you can develop over the next 4 or 5 years So then why would you trade for 28-year-old Jaylen Brown when you can continue to watch 24-year-old Tyrese Maxey's development? I'm just doing math here. Crawley says, I'm not doing it. I don't think it happens anyway. The Sixers aren't in a position to do that. And if Daryl Morey would do that, I guess it wouldn't be that shocking because he's done some wild things. Anyway, that's my opinion on that. Thank you for giving me yours. Green Blaze, thank you for the super chat. Hey, Eastwood, would you be willing to draft Ace Bailey at number 3? Yes. Or trade to number 2 and get Dylan Harper to keep the number 3 pick? What? Would you be willing to draft Ace Bailey at number 3? Or possibly trade to number 2 and get Dylan Harper? Or keep the number 3 pick and go for Jeremiah Fears? Yeah, I like Jeremiah Fears. Jeremiah Fears is a more developed player right now, but the upside is not even close. Jeremiah Fears is one of those players that, a lot like Mikal Bridges coming into the draft when we drafted Mikal Bridges, and then we traded him for a project. Jeremiah Fears is what he is, I think. You know what I mean? You'd be drafting Jeremiah Fears for what he is. The reason Dylan Harper and the reason Ace Bailey and these guys are at the top of the draft is because their potential is the highest in the draft class. Their ceiling is the highest. Again, Ace Bailey is 6'9", 210 pounds, averaged 17-7 in college. Did they win the tournament? No. But we're talking about what can he turn into by the age of 24 or 25. And when I compare him to Paul George, or I compare him to Tracy McGrady, or I compare him to Kevin Durant, and you take all of those players, Kevin Durant's, yes, that's a lot less likely, okay? But Paul George or Tracy McGrady is not that crazy to compare Ace Bailey to. And if you go and look at Paul George's numbers at 18 years old in college, and Tracy McGrady's numbers at 18 years old, he came straight out of high school to the NBA. There's a lot of similarities there. So all I'm saying, you're taking Ace Bailey as a development, and what he could turn into, the ceiling is crazy. That's why they're that high. So no, I'm not taking Jeremiah Fears at number 3. I don't know how you would trade to number 2 to get Dylan Harper unless the Spurs. That could happen. The number 2 for Dylan Harper thing, that could happen. It would give Sixers fans PTSD, first of all, right? Because we did the Markelle Fultz swap when we were at number 3, even though I think the Boston Celtics take Jason Tatum at number 1 overall anyway. But say the San Antonio Spurs want to draft Ace Bailey. They don't want Dylan Harper because they have De'Aaron Fox and Stephen Castle. And say the San Antonio Spurs say, hey, we know you guys would love Dylan Harper on your squad. Trade with us for the number 2. We'll take Ace Bailey at number 3. But then you could say, do the Sixers really want Dylan Harper that much? Like, I would love Dylan Harper, but we have Tyrese Maxey and Jared McCain on the team. And Dylan Harper, yeah, he's a 6'6" point guard. I don't know. I don't think that trade's very likely. I think the most likely thing is the 76ers are at number 3 in the draft and they take Ace Bailey at number 3 in the draft. I think there's a 78% chance of that happening. Shout out to Brian Pumper with the super chats. How do dudes watch Ace Bailey and think he's a bum? I don't think we have ever had a player hit consistent moving 2s and 3s at the wing. Big need. Brian, I'm going to tell you why people think Ace Bailey is a bum. Because for some reason, people look at an 18-year-old prospect in college, and they look at him like a finished product. This is my whole problem with what's going on with Twitter right now since the Sixers got back in the lottery and won the number 3 pick. This is my whole problem with what's going on the internet. Everybody goes into a draft and they look at these players and they say, I don't want him because he does this bad, he does this bad, he does this bad, and he does this bad. They're looking at 18-year-olds as a finished product. It makes absolutely no sense to me. There's 3 reasons you take Ace Bailey at number 3. The first reason, he's 6'9", 210 at 18 years old. That's number 1. The second reason is he's a very, very good pull-up jump shooter off the dribble. At 6'9", At 6'9", 210, he's a very good pull-up shooter off the dribble. That's basically it for me. I don't need to see anything else. The rest is development. You know what I mean? You take him. You take him. But that's why people are talking negatively, because they look at these players as a finished product for some reason. Can you start streaming the playoffs again? I would love to, man, but to be totally honest with you, man, it's incredibly time consuming. And I've been enjoying the time off, man. I've been enjoying the time off and just recapping the games the next day and doing these shows at 12 o'clock. So that's why I haven't been live streaming the playoffs. Anyway, let's get down to business before this show is 3 hours long. Daryl Morey was on the John Clark podcast, and not a lot of these. I couldn't find really any of these quotes on Twitter or anywhere. So I figured let's just go listen to the podcast live, and that'll be the second half of this show today. And so that's what we'll do. Most Def, thank you for the super chat. I think Ace Bailey's ceiling is Harrison Barnes. That is absolutely ridiculous, and not even similar. Not a similar player. I think that's ridiculous. But thank you for the super chat. I respectfully disagree with that opinion. All right, let's listen to this, man. Daryl Morey on the John Clark podcast. He talked about the draft pick. He talked about the Sixers' health and other things. So it's about 22 minutes. Let's just listen to it and react to it.
Everybody, welcome to Take Off with John Clark, and let's bring in
Grimes. Jared, really happy for Sixers
President of Basketball Operations, Daryl Morey, and he is out in Chicago. Daryl, congratulations on keeping your pick and getting the pick. How huge is this for the franchise?
Oh, it's massive, and really happy for Sixers fans who went through a very rough season, like all of us. And when you go through a rough season, you want to make sure you take advantage, both with young players, with Bona, Edwards, Grimes, Jared McCain, and also we've got two very good picks in this draft now, number 3 and number 35.
So in years past, of course, you have been in the NBA for a long time. Where would you rank these players, let's say top 3 players in this draft?
Yeah, I think the top 3, 4, you could argue 5 maybe. Could be. I mean, like there's good players in this draft. The top of this draft, I think, is I would say I was very fortunate to start my career in the 2003 draft, which some argue is the best draft of all time. So, but I think it's in the top 5 of high quality players at the top of the draft in my career.
Is that what he said, or didn't he ask him who the best 3 players are in the draft? Did he even answer the question?
Wow. Now, at this time, do you have an idea, the Sixers have an idea, all of you together, of who you're going to draft if he's sitting there, or a couple players?
He's not going to say.
I mean, we've been working all season, so we have a good sense of the players we like, and we're really comfortable at number 3.
And I heard you say you're not going to draft for need in any way. You take the best player available. What do the Sixers need at this point, in your opinion?
I mean, we need a championship, so I would say.
Yeah, well, that's out the window, buddy.
Yeah, we're not looking at the draft for need. We're gonna do that. Address that through free agency.
Thank you.
Through other means as well.
And do you see potential future all-stars that could be sitting there for you at 3?
I mean, historically, obviously Joel Embiid was 3. Historically, the 3 pick has a pretty good potential to be an all-star level player. There's a lot of misses at 3 as well, so we got a lot of work to do to make sure we get this right. But historically, and especially in a good draft like this with a lot of high potential players, we have a good shot at getting a future franchise, very important player.
And in your mind, do you see yourself using this pick? I know there's going to be some player movement. There's some guys that may want out of their teams, wink, wink. But do you see you using this pick?
Yeah.
Why did he say that? Was he talking about Giannis? There's guys that want out of their teams or potentially want out of their teams.
Using this pick, I know there's going to be some player movement. There's some guys that may want out of their teams. Wink, wink. But do you see you using this pick?
Yeah, our plan is to pick this pick. Yep.
Yeah. Now, you have talked about how
Why would he say, yeah, we're going to trade it? I mean, it's just, he's not really going to answer that question. But yeah, their plan is to use the pick. And I don't think they should trade it for anything. But again, it's because I think the championship window is closed. Daryl Morey just kind of reiterated that we need a championship. So I don't think Daryl Morey has accepted yet that the championship window is closed. So again, I wouldn't be totally shocked if he does trade it. I would be mad, though.
having a younger, more dynamic, more athletic team around Joel Embiid and Paul George. You obviously have McCain, you have Maxey, and you're going to have a 3 pick and then a 2nd round pick. With Joel's knee and his situation and his age and his size, how can he keep up and play the style of basketball you want to play?
He can.
I mean, he can. I mean, I think folks have seen him play at a high level, and he's working to get back to that. And to your point, you know, I think, you know, if your rotation is 9, 10 guys, you know, the vast majority of those players are going to be, you know, guys in their prime, guys either at the start of their career like Justin Edwards or Bona or McCain, to the number 3 pick, to the number 35 pick, to, you know, really guys in their absolute peak like a Tyrese Maxey. So we're going to have a younger athletic group next year around Joel, Paul.
That's the. I don't understand why they keep saying we're gonna have a younger, more athletic crew. It's the same roster as last year. What has changed besides having a number 3 pick?
And Tyrese.
I think it still goes back to: is Daryl Morey going to play the younger players, or is he still gonna roll Andre Drummond and Eric Gordon out there?
Now, you were on the Rights to Ricky Sanchez.
I guess the only way for him to guarantee that we are younger and more athletic is to trade Eric Gordon, Andre Drummond, and probably Kelly Oubre, who all 3 have player options.
Podcast, and Brian Windhorst of ESPN is out there picking up on something you said, where you said, if Joel Embiid comes back, you think he'll be at a high level. What did you mean by that? Is there a chance that Joel doesn't play?
My sense is he didn't listen to my answer. I think I gave like a 5-minute answer, and it got pulled into, you know, I'm sure if things go well for you, John, we'll get pulled into a couple of clips out of it. You know, if you listen to my whole answer, my point was Joel, you know, cares so much about the championship, cares so much about winning, that when he plays, he's gonna. Because the question I got was like, is he going to, you know, be the, you know, backup big someday for the 76ers? And I really just don't see Joel being that. He's an elite player. He cares about winning so much that, you know, he's going to play at a high level when he comes back.
You can care about winning and not be able to play at a high level. Joel's going to play at a high level because he cares so much about, well, he's not. Bro, knees are a real thing. You can't just care about winning so much that your knees heal.
Now, Paul George, of course, he has a podcast, and he's back. He has said a couple of months ago that he thinks Ace Bailey is a better pick than Cooper Flagg. Has Paul let you know his opinion?
I haven't spoken to Paul directly, although I was with his agent yesterday. The Combine here is a big agent get together, and look, Ace is a tremendous player, absolutely someone we're considering. We're looking at, you know, every option at 3 and the players that we can pick, but we feel very good.
If you have a locked AT&T phone, we're here.
Wow, that's a very interesting ad placement in the middle of an answer.
With bolt cutters, T-Mobile will help pay off your loan.
That's a 3-tier cake stand.
To the void. Well, with
Questions about Joel and his surgery. I didn't get a chance.
You a $100 credit on your next campaign. Get started at linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply.
Good about who we're going to pick, and Ace for sure is someone we're considering.
And a couple questions about Joel.
So, yeah, I mean, as expected, he didn't really answer it directly. If Harper's there, you decide if you take Harper. If the Spurs take Ace, but he didn't even name any names really. So VJ Edgecombe could be in there. VJ's the only other one that I see in there at number 3. I see Harper, Ace, and VJ. I don't see anybody else in there.
Well, in his surgery, I didn't get a chance to ask you a couple things. I guess my question is about a year ago, or less than that, Joel had a similar surgery on the left knee, meniscus surgery. And is this what he just had? Is this a similar surgery to last year? And if so, why are you confident? Why is everybody confident that the results will be different this time?
Well, I think the surgery was a scope. Confidence comes from the doctor who did it and feels very good about the outlook. It's the same doctor who worked with Kawhi. Again, you could go back a year and you say Kawhi's pulling out of USAB. Everyone's saying like, oh my goodness, what's with Kawhi? Was Kawhi ever going to be who he is? And then he's playing 45 plus minutes.
And lost in the first round. Hello? Lost in the first round.
In the playoffs over and over.
Is that our ceiling? Joel Embiid's healthy because Kawhi's doctor fixed his knee and we lose in the first round?
For the Clippers. So my point is like, we feel very good because of the feedback we're getting from the doctor and the work that Joel's putting in.
So also, when you guys shut him down, he was unable to play in late February of last season. It was, I guess, 4 or 5 weeks before it was determined that he would have this scope arthroscopic surgery. How come it didn't happen right after he was shut down for the season?
Yeah, that was talking to, I believe, somewhere between 9 and 12 doctors, just to make sure we get every I dotted and every T crossed.
Somewhere between 9 and 12. It used to be more than half a dozen. Now it's somewhere between 9 and 12. Like, why don't we know the exact number of doctors they talk to? Why is it somewhere between 9 and 12?
Choose the right doctor to do the surgery, choose the right approach. So that was what took the time.
Is this a situation where there were some maybe more invasive, serious surgeries that could have kept him out a long time, and it was decided, hey, we don't want to go that route. We want to see if we can go ahead and do the less invasive surgery?
It was really more just looking at all the options and making sure that the right one was being chosen.
Okay, and after what happened last year with Joel and the issues the knee had coming back, what did you learn about the approach, the plan for you, Joel, everybody involved?
Yeah, I think for everybody, and we had a lot of conversations with the players during the season and after the season as well, is to go into this next season on the ground running. Again, I've sort of owned up that a big mistake I made was focusing too much on the playoffs right at the start. We need to go out there and prove that we're the team we know we can be. We needed to prove that early and hit the ground running next year versus, I had a lot of, comments early in the season I thought were a mistake about, let's just get ourselves set up for the playoffs and, we'll be better about that next year.
I'm still, I still look. I like the fact that Daryl Morey owns up to his mistakes, but it still just does not make me feel good that a veteran NBA president and a GM for 20 years or whatever would make that big of a mistake. It bothers me that a veteran NBA GM has to learn from mistakes in his 17th season doing this. Like, how did he not know that having 4 5'11" fat guys on the court wasn't going to get you to the playoffs? I don't know.
But is it a situation, again, where you really have to get Joel to the playoffs healthy and not play him as much during the regular season?
Well, I think that'll be up to the medical staff, the doctors, and things like that. But I do know that based on where things are at now, that, all of our players will be available to start the season. Obviously a lot of info will come as Joel goes through his rehab and gets himself ready for next year. But right now, based on the information that we have, we feel good about all our players being available there from game one.
Yeah, okay, there he said it. Basically he said Joel Embiid's going to be available for day one. Now, the question is, how do Sixers fans feel about the Sixers front office claiming that Joel Embiid is going to be available game one? Because, first of all, 2 years ago, Nick Nurse said, no, Joel Embiid's going to play more games. And he was playing back-to-backs, and he was playing every game he was available for, and he was dominating, and he was on course to possibly win another MVP. Bang, torn meniscus. The next season, they say surgery went well, it was all good. Joel Embiid's not available for game one. And we're all like, why not? And they're like, oh, he's ramping up for the season. We're like, the season started. You guys know the season started. Why is he ramping up? And they basically were vague and didn't tell us anything. And now Daryl Morey says, hey, everybody's going to be available for game one as far as the information we have right now. So basically, that is not a set-in-stone answer. We could go into next season with Joel Embiid ramping up part 3, and he misses the first 20 games. What I think happened was Joel Embiid wasn't healthy. He was still in. He still had knee swelling, and they were lying about it, and they got fined by the NBA for lying about it. On and on and on. But I will say this: if Joel Embiid doesn't start game one next season, everybody's out. Everybody's out this upcoming season. I say this every year. But Joel Embiid being healthy this upcoming season is the most pivotal of his career and is the most pivotal of the Joel Embiid era in Philadelphia. If you go 2 seasons in a row where Joel Embiid is not available game one, it's a wrap. It's over. Most of the fan base is already over it. There's probably more people in this stream watching my show than are going to watch Sixers games this year. But he absolutely won. If Daryl Morey's job is on the line, everybody's reputation is on the line, and you're going to spend all summer saying he's healthy again, etc. And then if you come up this season and he's not available game one, it's a wrap for everybody. That would be crazy.
And you said you learned a lot about last year. Does Joel need to do more as far as conditioning or diet or strengthening the area around the knee to help that process of staying healthy with the knee?
Joel's doing everything he can to be out there, from conditioning to rehab to everything. He's doing everything to be ready for game one next year.
Was he doing everything last year? I don't believe that at all.
And this team, on paper, like last year, you said they had the 3rd best odds, and so many different things happened with injuries. Where do you think this
that
team
was like
could be?
just a fact?
Yeah.
Look, we think our roster's better going into next season. Obviously, the 3 pick helps that, and all the development that Coach Nurse did with Edwards, Bona, and McCain, and the trade for Grimes, and where's he? So we like.
You know what? He is talking a lot about Edwards, Bona, and Grimes and McCain. So with Daryl Morey talking about those guys as much as he is, we better damn sure see a whole hell of a lot of Jared McCain, Quentin Grimes, Adem Bona, and Justin Edwards the beginning of next season. Last year, I was screaming, where the fuck is Adem Bona? Where the fuck is Justin Edwards? Where's all the guys you drafted? Where's all the young guys? Why aren't they on the floor? Nick Nurse wouldn't play them. Again, I have to hear it from Nick Nurse to know if he's going to play the guys.
Our roster better going into next season. I don't think we'll be regarded that highly in Vegas just because we had a very tough year. And I think until people see us healthy and playing, they're not going to believe in the team, and I understand that. But I like where we're coming from. We have the chance to have a much better team than going into the season last year, and let's go out there and prove it.
And there's a lot of people, they want to see Joel healthy. They want to see him playing MVP level basketball, but there's a lot of people that are skeptical after what happened last year that he can play on that knee. And Kawhi, he is smaller than Joel. How much tougher is it for Joel at his size with the pounding that the knee takes on a basketball court to get through this?
Damn near impossible.
Well, I think everything factors in, whether it be the specific injury, the position, everything like that. But I've mentioned this in the past. Just to take a random player, a Brook Lopez, very injury prone, played 30 games that are actually slightly, or in a season slightly older than Joel.
Doesn't play the same
I'm
style at
not
all.
comparing those two players from an actual basketball perspective, but they're similar sized players. And then Brook has gone 78, 79, 80 games in 3 straight seasons. So,
Brook Lopez doesn't move. That's like comparing Joel Embiid to Steven Adams.
Bottom line is, you don't know. We're not going to know. We're not going to know until it happens, but we feel optimistic that Joel's on the right path.
How much do you think Tyrese Maxey learned last year going through all the things that he went through, but the other injury?
All right, I think that's all I wanted to hear from that interview was his perspective on Joel Embiid and the draft pick. So I feel good about the things that Daryl Morey said in that interview. I don't believe some of the things that he said, but it's PC. He had to say certain things. He wasn't going to answer the questions directly and mention names of the draft picks. I would say, based on what the Sixers look like right now and how Daryl Morey seems to understand that they need a youth movement, I would say it's very, very likely that they draft a player at number 3, and it's most likely that they draft Ace Bailey at number 3. I think the chances of the 76ers trading the pick for another win-now player without knowing if Joel Embiid and Paul George are healthy is a very, very low chance, even for Daryl Morey. And then, he says Joel Embiid's healthy, going to be healthy day 1. He says all of our players are going to be healthy day 1. It's a big, bold claim. His reputation is on the line. His job is probably on the line. And if the 76ers start next season and Joel Embiid and Paul George are not 100% game 1, there's going to be a damn riot in Philadelphia, if anybody even cares anymore at the same time, because I feel like just nobody really cares anymore anyway. Man, maybe riot's metaphorical for the arena is going to be empty. Maybe that's what I mean by riot. Brian Pumper, Paul George is an unhinged individual. Why was he rocking sunglasses and AirPods on that interview? I can't believe we got scammed again. Hey, man. Well, he was doing a podcast. I mean, you can wear AirPods when you do a podcast to have to monitor your audio if you want to. He was probably hearing the audio through the AirPods. He was wearing sunglasses because he's a fucking cool dude like I am. I don't know, man. I'm not going to put too much thought into why was Paul George wearing sunglasses as I'm sitting up here wearing sunglasses on a YouTube show. Ace Bailey is a shorter Jabari Smith. If he does get drafted, hopefully Nurse will start him at the 4 spot. Yeah, I don't think Ace Bailey's going to be a starter at 18 years old. We would have to look at the history of 18-year-olds in the NBA who have tools but are relatively raw. Again, you can look at Kobe Bryant coming out of high school. Was not a starter at 18 years old. You can look at Tracy McGrady coming out of high school at 18 years old, was not a starter. These are development players. I wouldn't expect Ace Bailey to be a starter as a rookie or even his second or third year. He's 18 years old. And to even say anything about him as a shorter Jabari Smith or comparing him to any other NBA player right now is just I don't know. I think it's way too early in an 18-year-old's playing career to say what he is. We don't know what he is. We just know what he has and what his potential is. We sure Nurse will play Ace, though. I mean, that's the thing about Nick Nurse, man. You know, he's not going to start. You would like for Nick Nurse to develop young players. Again, you know, Daryl Morey shouted out Nick Nurse for developing Justin Edwards and Adem Bona, but he didn't do that. He only started playing those guys because everybody got hurt, or at least the 76ers front office sat everybody out with injuries. That's the only reason those guys started playing. There was a 7-game span in the middle of January where Nick Nurse was forced to play Adem Bona, Justin Edwards, Ricky Council, and all these young athletes. And they actually won 5 out of 6 games. They won 2 games in a row against the Orlando Magic. And I thought they were turning a new leaf. And then guess what? Andre Drummond came back. Eric Gordon came back. Kyle Lowry came back. And Nick Nurse went right back to what he was doing with the old veterans and started losing games again. It was one of the craziest things I've ever seen. Nick Nurse couldn't figure out why it wasn't working. I actually don't think Nick Nurse knows how to develop talent at all. I think he was just throwing those guys on the floor because he had no other option. And look, boom, oh, look, they can play basketball in the NBA, and now Nick Nurse is a development coach. I don't think he's a development coach. And I'll say this. If you draft Ace Bailey and Nick Nurse doesn't give him 5 minutes a night, fire him. Fire him right away, bro. That's exactly why the Toronto Raptors fired him. Because he does not develop players. He's in win now mode 24/7, and it just doesn't work for young players. That's where I'm at with it. Hey, somebody was on the line, man. If you want to call the show, call in. I'll take a caller or two, man. 951-981-7683. If you guys got some things you want to say or something you want to talk about. I'll take a caller or two, man, before I get up out here. Ace Bailey could play Kelly Oubre role at power forward right away as the guy who floats between the dunker spot and open threes. Yeah, I can't say anything about an Ace Bailey and what he can do right now at 18 years old on an NBA floor. I have to see him play. I'd have to see him play. I'd have to see him, we'd have to see him play, man. We got a Marnell on the phone line, man. What's going on, man? How you doing?
Hey, listen, man. I'm a sicko like you, bro.
What's up?
So the show, you guys are talking about the rookies and potential and whatnot, but I think this this number 3 pick is a chess piece, man. We got to think outside the box a little bit.
It's a chess piece for what?
Dude, this is a veteran team at this point. It's not a super young team. It is a veteran team. We got to take advantage of Joel Embiid and Maxey, and I think they need to solidify that power forward spot, and then they can move back 2 spots. So my idea is that they trade Paul George, get him off the books. He's got to go. Trade back 2 spots to Utah. Bring in John Collins, and then use that draft pick to pick whoever else they need. But John Collins, we need to solidify that power forward spot.
All right, so you're saying they keep the number 3 pick? You're saying they trade Paul George for John Collins?
No, I'm saying they trade Paul George,
the
number 3 pick, to Utah for the number 5 pick and a future. Collins. And John Collins, yes.
I don't necessarily hate that. I don't necessarily hate that at all. You found a way to get rid of Paul George. I like that. Anybody that finds a way to get rid of Paul George, I'm on board with that. But I just think that, like, the chances of the 76ers championship window being closed, I think, is very high. I know you said it's a veteran team and we need to take advantage of it right now.
Yeah,
I haven't seen anything in the last couple of years that says these veterans are gonna be healthy enough to win. You need Joel Embiid to be back to MVP form to be a championship contender. I think they're farther away from contending for a championship than they are close to it. And I think that the top 3 players in this draft have potential to be future NBA superstars. And I would just hate to try to win. Joel Embiid's hurt again, and then in 6 years, Ace Bailey is Tracy McGrady. You know, that's
well,
my opinion.
I don't want to wait 6 years, man. Like, I think this squad, I mean, we got to get rid of some of the dead weight. Like Kyle Lowry shouldn't be on the roster anymore. We can't have we can't bring Gordon back. But at this point, we can fill that. We can solidify that power forward spot. We can bring in some more talent. We've got some great young talent. You just talked about the young guys that got some playing time by default this last season, and I think those guys are very talented, and I think they're enough. And instead of having to worry about two health issues, we just got to worry about Embiid.
All right, man. Hey, thanks for calling the show. And thanks for giving your perspective, man. I loved it, and call back anytime.
For sure.
Yeah, I just personally I don't see the 76ers being in a championship window where they have to make a move to try to win now. I think the win now is over. And if you're saying that Maxey and McCain and everybody is good enough, I mean, yeah, if Joel Embiid's healthy, I think that it's just that's too big of an if. That's too big of an if to make a move and say, we need to pass on a player with as high of a ceiling as an Ace Bailey or a Dylan Harper and make them. I don't think they're close to winning now. That's just me. One more caller, man, before I get out of here. What's going on, man? You're on the show.
Yeah, what's up? What's going on?
How's it going, man? What's your name?
Hassan,
what's up, man? What you got?
Yeah, a few things. I've never seen like a prospect like Ace Bailey and people that's so down on him and don't want him. Like, never, like, you got a 6'8", 6'9" wing who can shoot with the purest form. Who Kevin Durant said himself, at this age he was more advanced than me shooting the ball. But people saying people don't like him because his flaws. If your biggest flaws as a 6'9" wing is ball handling and you take bad shots, I'll take that every day of the week because that's easy to develop.
Exactly.
You can teach and you take bad shots. It's easy to develop. You can teach those things.
Exactly. Well, except for Jaylen Brown. You can't teach it to Jaylen Brown, but for most players, you can teach ball handling.
Yeah, but you can teach.
But no, I agree, man. Dude, they're going off. They're showing clips of like his shot selection and saying he's a bit. Dude, why are they all skipping over the whole development part? Like we're talking about teaching him how to play the game as he grows because he's only 18. But yeah, the shot form is perfect.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I'm talking about to a T. Like when you look up textbook jump shots, it's that.
Yeah. I agree, and that's why you take him. 6'9" wing with a perfect jump shot. That's all I need to see. Draft him. I agree.
And then you got guys on Twitter talking about some. Well, he's 6'7". What you don't play basketball barefoot with shoes on? He's 6'9".
Exactly. If we're measuring everyone with barefoot, then Giannis Antetokounmpo is 6'9.5" instead of 6'11". Like that. Yeah, that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, and I got one more thing about Embiid. Since Embiid came into the league injury prone, I always thought to myself, his game would age perfect because he's just such an elite mid-range shooter where he's not like Giannis or one of these big men who rely on their athleticism, jumping out the gym, jumping over the backboard and stuff.
Yeah.
Embiid game would age like hot wine if he takes time with the knee. If the team is good in sitting down, like how the Clippers did with Kawhi, I feel like we tried to do that last year, but the team was so bad, and we rushed Embiid back.
Yeah, we did. No, you're right about that. The same kind of concept as Ace Bailey. He has a jump shot. Players that have a jump shot and have size can play for a long time. And yeah, Joel's game can age gracefully. I think you're right. And he doesn't have to always be that, jumping and doing a windmill dunk and chase down blocks. And I think, as long as he, like somebody said at the beginning of the stream, 70%, like 70% of Joel Embiid is still a back to the basket, turnaround jump shot, uses strength to get under the rim, still can shoot threes at a good percentage for somebody that size. I agree. He could, if his knee holds up enough for him to be 75% of what he was, he could play for years and still be very valuable. I do agree with that. But he can't. He's never. You don't think he's ever going to be back to like MVP dominance, 35 points a game?
Nah. I think he's still able to do it, but I don't think his body will be able to hold up on that throughout the course of the season. I still think he got it in him because in today's league, who's guarding Embiid? They still will send doubles his way. It's not like one center that's going to be like, unless Embiid just physically unable to do that, I don't see anybody in the league that can, Embiid, you can't do this no more. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with you. Hey, Hassan, I appreciate the call, man. Great call. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, man. Shout out to Hassan on the phone line. For Joel Embiid to age gracefully, though, he would have to learn to play differently at the same time. You know what I mean? It's kind of that, like, Carson Wentz effect. Like, we were like, hey, Carson, you tear your ACL every 2 years, man. How about stop diving headfirst into NFL linebackers, right? And take a knee or run out of bounds. And then the next time he get healthy, run to the sideline, and he put his head down and do the same thing and injure himself again. It's hard for players to learn how to play a different way when they've played a certain way their whole life. For Joel Embiid to play that style, he would have to learn a completely different style of play. And he just had... I think he's learning it, though. Dude, if there's one player that can do it, it is Joel Embiid. He's a very smart guy. And, last year he wasn't going off of 1 foot and chase down blocks and everything. He was going off of 2 feet. He doesn't even really dunk that much anymore. He does like a power dribble and lays it in. So maybe he is changing his game a little bit to extend the second half or downside of his career, whatever you want to say. But it's a lot. There's a lot that has to happen. But Daryl Morey told us he's going to be available day one, and Daryl Morey is his job is on the line. Everybody's job is on the line. This upcoming season is a big one. Shout out to everybody else that was in the call waiting. We'll take more callers on the next show, but I appreciate you guys for the super chats. Thank you for contributing to the show. Thank you for hanging out and listening. Run It Back Nation, I will see you next